Throughout the history of video games, secrets, Easter eggs, and hidden endings have been an essential part of the gaming experience. The word of mouth, tight-knit feeling of secret sharing, and the communal element of uncovering gaming mysteries has often felt forgotten. That is, except in the world of obscure indie games, where a scant few experiences have the perfect combination of accessibility and inaccessibility, combined in a harmonic balance to create an ideal mystery experience. And although it feels a little blasphemous to take these games out of the realm of word of mouth, Teosita is a game that revels in blasphemy, and I want to share my experiences diving into its world of occult secrets. Of course, with this game, a warning is needed. The imagery of this game is disturbing, religious, psychosexual, and sometimes just plain gross. But you aren't on this channel because you shy away from those things. You're here to watch someone explore the dark and esoteric corners of mysterious works of art. So, with that, this is Teosita, and the tutorial of the game is set in a playhouse. Pleasant bell sounds ring out, and the colors are bright and dreamlike. Already, though, there's more than meets the eye. Occult symbols, cute incarnations of strange creatures, and an alien language spelling out an unknown word above the screen. As the tutorial progresses, this border becomes red and rotten. Mouths and trypophobia-inducing holes fill the screen, and a strange and ominous sound starts overwhelming the calming bells. And then it all melts away, revealing the true intro of the game.
Welcome. We offer our deepest thanks for your interest in our metaphysical analysis program, designed to conduct experiments in extrasensory perception, subliminal effectivity, logicability and response to audio-visual stimuli. In order for the experiment to be fruitful, it is of utmost importance that the state of your consciousness allows for complete expression of your actions. Therefore, we do not recommend participation in the program if you are anywhere near your exhaustion threshold. Some themes covered in the program may cause discomfort to a number of users. Please be aware that each and every element has been carefully crafted as an intentional part of the experience. And so shall you return to my arms, but then not before I pass my judgment on torturers.
Amidst all the occult, eldritch, and religious imagery, there's knowledge to be gained. The game takes place within a metaphysical aptitude program designed to test our abilities and, subtextually, subject us to psychic experimentation. This shortly followed by dogmatic messages from this masked being. Our protagonist is the recipient of these messages, and soon it will become clear that we're playing as a follower of this religion. and that we're a hot demon lady, but that's besides the point. Our message is to obtain 7 principles, starting out with the principle of mentalism, which we need to unlock the gates to the rest of the temple. We're surrounded by pulsing mechanical structures and occult symbols, and as we puzzle our way through a tutorial area, we fight the first boss, a Cenobite-esque being whose shape is reminiscent of a crucifix. When we defeat him, we're presented with a set of cards meant to test our psychic prowess, of which I have absolutely fucking none. The game presents itself as a puzzle platformer, with some heavy occult undertones as our character double jumps on a pentagram-esque sigil, and uses 3 little floating skulls to control switches with planetary and elemental sigils on them. The game, too, is full of esoteric secrets, hidden messages, and disturbing symbolism. In each level, you can find a variety of strange clues, as well as a mix of religious, sexual, and biomechanical imagery. As you progress, the game seems to be breaking apart more and more. Glitches appear, and correct guesses on the ESP card game machine result in hidden doors being opened. And at the end of each level, the walls of the hub begin to bleed, and we see strange visions. But as the doors to the temple open up, when we start to delve deeper into this game, we begin to see what narrative it seeks to represent. We'll be presented with dogmatic preachings of the matriarch's religion, as well as its opposing ideology of the patriarch. Just roaming around the hub area presents a myriad of secrets to discover, secrets that hint deeper into the mysterious concepts this game presents. We are embarking on what is known as the Path of the Neophytes, a religious rite of passage meant to break down the will of its participants, strengthen the convictions they hold, and introduce them to the truths or propaganda of the matriarch. And those truths, well, as we explore the hub and progress through the levels, they present themselves to us, both in the direct scripture of hidden and readily apparent tablets, and inferred in the dialogue our protagonist has with the priests of the patriarch, whose influence has begun to take hold in this temple. Okay, this is going to involve a bit of jargon, all of which will be explained. The matriarch's religion is a combination of esoteric, Jungian, Gnostic, and Luciferian beliefs. Okay, yeah, like I said, a lot of jargon, but I'll explain all of it. The clues for this combination of philosophies presents itself in a few ways. Esotericism in the game's use of symbols. The alchemical symbols of the elements are used in the puzzles of the game, as well as its background imagery, as are various symbols for planets. In this level, for example, the switches represent Mercury and Sulfur, the symbols representing the mind and the soul. Another hallmark of the esoteric tradition is the Kabbalah, a bit of Hebrew occultism often mixed in with Christian and Hermetic alchemical symbology, which appears here in the looping blank room. The Kabbalah is a kind of Swiss Army knife occult symbol, one of its main representations as kind of a dimensional map. Now, when I say esotericism, I don't just mean that these symbols are esoteric, meaning odd or hard to find. I refer to a philosophical tradition called esotericism, passed down through heretics and alchemists all the way to modern occult movements, revolving around the pursuit of hidden or rejected knowledge, and under the understanding the mystical is simply a spiritual science whose means of understanding are, well, not yet fully understood. But what those esoteric symbols are used for becomes more clear when we apply the second lens of analysis I mentioned, that of Carl Jung. The symbols seek not to obscure matters, but bring them to light. They are the gates of the subconscious, bringing the manifestation of the will into the concrete world. The former half of this idea is an idea explored by philosopher and psychologist Carl Jung, who arguably upholds the esoteric tradition. Jung was a funny fella, and admirer of Freud, a very funny fella with a lot of funny ideas about sex. The ideas Jung brought to the table, though, include the idea that some esoteric imagery and occult practices serve a use in psychotherapy due to the nature of what he called the collective unconscious. Symbolism and archetypal concepts are held in the subconscious minds of humans, and those symbols can be used to bring out the subconscious thoughts of therapeutic patients. An example of this practice might be something like a therapist offering their patient, who doesn't know the source of their mental ailment, a deck of tarot cards. They see symbols of motherhood, pain, and restlessness, and through those symbols remember an instance in their childhood, previously forgotten or buried in their subconscious. Anyway, this usage has a flip side. Being presented with vague and varied imagery can be used as a tool to bring out the concepts and ideas already lurking within one's mind, but focused and specific symbolism serves a use as well. A great example of this is found in advertising, and since I haven't been sponsored by Nord Shadow Honey, the only VPN that has addicting gambling mechanic disguised as gameplay, harvests your data, and shaves your balls, this is just a waste of a good segue. Anyway, advertisers have used hidden messaging for a long time. For more direct examples like flashing frames of text encouraging purchases in between video footage, which is now banned, or ones based more in innuendo and metaphor. Sexual imagery has been used both subtly and extremely unsubtly to encourage people to buy products. It's called sex drive for a reason. Buy a car. Similar instances occur at an even more base level, like the use of color theory corresponding with branding, the innate mental associations with red for sex and yellow for food occurring in fast food brands, or the calming and pacifying effect the color blue has being used almost ubiquitously on social media apps that rely on user retention. Twitter still doesn't make me feel calm though, so I guess it doesn't work. The second half of the quote though is more interesting, manifesting the will into the concrete world. One could view this as new agey mumbo-jumbo about how thinking really hard about something can manifest it into your life. A belief system that's been used to justify a lot of really bad ideas. Maybe poor people are just not manifesting hard enough, which is just true. Manifest harder, dude. On the other side of this, though, is an alternate reading of this quote. I've played my fair share of Shin Megami Tensei games, and will probably do a video about them at some point or another. And I know that the term, the will, is an alternate phrase for God. This metaphysical aptitude test may be seeking not just to affect our psychology, but the physical plane as well. According to the first principle, mentalism, the mind is the primary plane, all other planes stem from it. So just what does this manifestation entail? Are the creators of this game just trying to mess with our head? Or are they trying to use us to bring something greater into reality? Something eldritch? Something lurking deep within our minds? Returning to more grounded philosophy, let's explore a quote from level 3, where the idea of symbolism affecting one's subconscious and the subconscious affecting one's perception becomes more clear. Cathexis caused by pause. What the fuck is that word? It's time for today's episode of What the Fuck Is That Word? Cathexis, a word used in psychotherapeutic contexts, meaning the concentration of mental energy on a concept, person, or object, usually to an unhealthy degree. Cathexis caused by repression and disturbance from prolonged exposure to the dogmas, mechanical and organic abominations spawned by the fragmented subconscious, manifesting as ghosts of what is not understood. The question is, are these levels full of disturbing, sexual, and blasphemous imagery the work of our protagonist's mind, caused by psychological complexes created by religious dogma? Or are our minds being worked on subliminally by the game? This disturbing imagery used just as a tool to access disturbing corners of our own minds. Now, let's dive deep into the concepts of Gnosticism. So, Gnosticism is another complicated occult concept, one situated farther back in history than Jung, though. See, Gnosticism is an offshoot of Christianity, one widely understood to be heretical, probably because the core concept is that God, or Yahweh, is an imposter, called the Demiurge, and that humankind contained a spark of the true God. The actual practice of Gnosticism, though, involved the seeking of esoteric knowledge to obtain gnosis. They believe that the practice of obtaining knowledge is holy, and that illusion and subterfuge is the tool of the false god who seeks to keep humanity from ascension. We see that practice in Teosita, both in the dogma of the matriarch, who, in the opening cutscene to spread her gnosis, and in a few other select quotes of the game. The mysteries represented by teaching passed on through ritual and symbols, the language of the initiated, assimilated in accordance with their ascension, to the ignorant is nothing more than elements devoid of meaning. Rituals present a set of formal, sequential acts for a purpose. In the path of the neophytes, they formalize the reception of superior grade knowledge. Our goal, and the goal of the matriarch, is this higher grade knowledge, or gnosis, and the widespread adoption of it. And in opposition to that, a force of obscuring ignorance. The reasons for the Demiurge's opposition to humanity are varied. Some believed it was an offshoot from an archon that created humankind by accident. Others believe that the Demiurge is Satan, pretending to be God. Other differences from traditional Christianity include that some believe Jesus to be an enlightened human who had achieved gnosis, and others believed him to be part of the true God. However, I think that the matriarch's teachings differ a bit from this, and are more inspired by Gnosticism than directly based off it. There are certain distortions that contradict those beliefs that we can't ignore. Unlike the Christian Gnostics, these cultists fuck. Gnostics were celibate and therefore got no bitches, and that celibacy and hierarchy upheld by Christianity, well, the matriarch and her emissaries strongly resent that. This is where we get into the more Luciferian ideas. We speak to 3 martyrs of the patriarch in the path of the neophytes, each one revealing a reason the matriarch and the patriarch's religions differ. The first is their view of chastity and sex, where the matriarch rejects the martyr's view of chastity and purity, and accuses them of hypocrisy and blasphemy against the body. In the matriarch's viewpoint, purity is unobtainable and exists as a tool for oppression. The second is an adversarial conversation with a crucified moth, who debates the value of freedom. For this martyr, freedom is meaningless in the face of the protection of God, and he threatens punishment for our sinfulness. The matriarch, however, seems to value freedom much more highly. Finally, we understand our character's goals when we talk to this final martyr, who looks very similar to the first boss of the game. Our goal, apparently, is to destroy the idols and statues of the patriarch, to vandalize his temple and blaspheme against him. Why? Because his idols are shrines to the torture of the matriarch, and their destruction is the climax of our iconoclastic performance. Well, that's all pretty intense stuff, but how is it Luciferian? And what do these combinations of beliefs mean? And, while Satan is the core of the Luciferian belief, its actual philosophy is much more important to this context than direct lore and theology. And Satan isn't the only deity the Luciferians worshipped, also include other manifestations of this being, such as the Morning Star of Egypt or Hermes. Their philosophy involves the pursuit of self-enlightenment, freedom, and the maximization of human potential. All of this involves the rejection of traditional dogma and spiritual hierarchy. To quote a funny little robot, we can become as gods, and the modern forms of Luciferianism also often directly correspond with anarchism, which would explain the protagonist's aversion to the hierarchy of the patriarch's religion, and her goal to blaspheme against it. In order to fully understand the synthesis of these ideas, we must, of course, go deeper, but not without assembling the knowledge that we've obtained thus far. So, how do these ideas combine? Well, we'll have to look a bit closer at a few choice secrets. First is a secret within a secret, a hidden passage in the area behind level 3, taking us to a signpost. This signpost proclaims it's a foolish mistake to assume that the god killers murder gods in fanciful showdowns. What they really do is break down archaic concepts associated with icons and symbols to the point in which they become irrelevant. And the deeper secret hiding beneath this wall? Well, although we don't have the context for it now, keep this childlike larva in mind, because when we understand the deeper themes of this game, this image, simple but creepy, will become a lot more disturbing. But this idea of God killing through the destruction of symbols is one of the most important thus far. Let's put these beliefs together. The esoteric use of symbols, the symbol's role in the Jungian collective unconscious, the fact that perception of symbols affect material reality, and that these symbols are being used for a purpose. Quotes in this game like words vibrate at a specific frequency of power, or when common perception is able to visualize an internal symbol, its image can be materialized by sheer will, start to make more sense in the context of what symbol we're trying to manipulate. Finally, if the patriarch is the demiurge of Gnosticism, and the matriarch holds the gnosis that would bring us to ascension, all of this coupled with the anti-tradition, anarchic mantras of Lucifer, all lead us to one conclusion. Our character's goal, and this game's goal, is to kill a god. Our protagonist's goal is the lower sphere, the material world, where they intend to go and subvert the belief that keeps the patriarch alive. The principles we've been learning this whole time are more than just spiritual doctrine. They're a guide to travel between dimensions, and the methods one would use to destroy the symbols that bring a deity power. The only thing that stands in our way now is the final chamber. If the subtitle of Metaphysical Aptitude Test wasn't enough, this seals it. We aren't playing something inside this game's reality. We're playing a game created by someone within the fiction of this game. So a new question is added to the docket. Who is the maker of the Metaphysical Aptitude Test? The sigils on the paper upon the desk and the propagandistic nature of the game would suggest the cult of the matriarch. The game controller has elemental sigils of earth, wind, and fire, as well as water corresponding to the cardinal directions. This would match what we know about the matriarch's love of esoteric symbolism. More esoteric than some funny triangles, though, is this document. I'm glad this game is fiction. I don't know what I would do if France was real. These are excerpts from a book called Le Livre des Spirits, with some quotes such as, "Is absolute isolation contrary to the law of nature? Yes, since men seek society by instinct, and they must all contribute to the law of progress by helping each other. What to think of the men who try to stop the march of progress and make humanity retrograde? Poor beings whom God will punish, they will be overthrown by the torrent they want to stop." All of this, too, fits along with the matriarch's anti-reactionary and anti-hierarchy beliefs. Alongside the French of this document, though, is another made-up language. The margins of the French document have these letters, and on the desk is a note made up entirely of them. Alongside the runes that appear on the door sigil when you enter the hub area, that makes two coded languages, but we're a lot closer to solving this first one. We'll come back here later when we've consumed some higher grade knowledge. And finally, alongside a password-locked computer is a series of photographs, 2 of in-game areas and 2 pictures inside of someone's house. Closing out of this game for the first time feels like raising the mysteries of this game to a power of 2. What we've been playing is, within the context of Teosita, a game created by Occult. Our duty for the rest of these videos, not only are we figuring out the lore, ideology, and messaging of this cult, but we're unraveling in-game secrets with the goal to figure out the purpose of the Metaphysical Aptitude Test, and why we're playing it at all. The codes, secrets, and mysteries in this game run deep, and it won't be long before we realize just how little we understand. The end of level 5 is a dialogue with another one of the Patriarch's followers, which we'll touch on later, but outside the level, things have well and truly started to break down. The blasphemous, decaying, and dark elements of this game have always been here, but as we've progressed, they've come closer and closer to the forefront. After this game gets you with what I will honestly say is one of the cleverest meta jump scares I've played, we move through a corrupted hallway as we draw closer to the sixth principle, which had been previously locked away. This place, the Path of the Neophytes, has been under attack by the Patriarch. It's being eaten away, and as we draw close to the ending, the sixth level, Cause and Effect, is full of distorted textures, floating human faces, and ends with It's now time for a standoff against the Patriarch, against the Demiurge, against Yahweh, who guards the principle of gender. His dialogue, too, we'll return to later, but our goal is revealed in full. Malkuth, the lowest sphere, is under his influence. We will engage in a fanciful showdown against the deity, and then we will travel to the world of flesh, where the real god-killing begins. The boss fight grinds to a halt. Broken textures, numbers, letters, and codes fill the now grayscale screen. The game itself requires the decoding of a few cipher puzzles to gain the password to return to the aptitude test, but the analysis we're doing requires deeper decrypting. Hidden in this mass of glitched textures and godflesh is a QR code. Alongside it, strings of numbers encrypted in hexadecimal. All of these link to two other games, Tamashii and Astigma. In order to truly delve deep as we can, into this mysterious mass of secrets, these games are our next step. Let's start with Tamashii. Tamashii is, in many ways, a blueprint for Teosita, similar puzzles, hub and level design, as well as some overlapping mechanics. Although the protagonist's moveset is the same, this doesn't mean it's so easily cut and dry as just a first draft. This becomes clear when we begin the game, being born from nothing as a servant of the Patriarch. Our mission? To snuff out a perverse influence in the Holy Temple. Now, instead of astral and alchemical symbols, the puzzle blocks of this game bear the mark of Brimstone and Saturn, and Baphomet symbols line the halls. There's a satanic influence creeping in, rather than a holy one, but the biomechanical, erotic, and Geiger-esque elements remain in between the games, if in a less polished state here. When we reach the end of the first level, we meet a familiar face, our protagonist in Teosita, in the flesh. She announces herself, and through our dialogue with her, and with our Patriarch, we learn more about her goals, and her title. Her name is Fucurl, Matriarch of Harlots. Depending on who you ask, she's either a witch or a deity, and depending on your perspective, she's either here to corrupt and poison the Holy Order, or restore balance between light and dark. In her own words, she wishes to bring her chaos back into the temple, and make the worshippers no longer fear the abyss, and this restoration will weaken the Patriarch, whose essence is drawn from this place. Later on, we find out more, such as the fact that this area is the same path of the neophytes we came to learn about in Teosita, and more about our current protagonist's birth as a tool for the Patriarch, but one with a mistaken sense of individuality beyond the Patriarch's control, lurking under our designed programming. Throughout the temple, we came to understand what kind of corruption the pyramid-headed god is talking about. Hidden messages that restate the tenets of the Matriarch's brand of occultism, flashing jump scares that appear when you beat a level, statues and fleshy beings appearing as the game progresses, and a treasure trove of forbidden knowledge and secrets hidden just below the surface, just the way I like it. In each level, you're presented with an option, the left-hand path or the right-hand one. The left hand holds dark rewards, but greater challenges, and now's a good time to mention that this game is fucking hard. And listen, I love puzzle games as much as the next very autistic person, but my brain fucking hurts. At the end of these challenges, we're given a report from Augustus Michael Yahweh. These reports document the discovery of eldritch knowledge and the burden that came with it, and the ascension of those who discovered it, an occult brotherhood who met a beautiful, mysterious woman who they joined on their exploration. The power the gnosis they discovered gave, enough to make them gods, created conflict amongst their number. The woman wanted to share it, but the writer chose to covet it for himself, take it to wield over the ignorant masses. And it's important to remember, of course, that Yahweh is the name of the god understood to be the false deity by the Gnostics, and the language used about this woman mirrors the language used about the matriarch in Teosita, almost word for word. And if that wasn't enough for you, this game has deeper secrets as well. A computer with error messages implying it's communicating with the player directly, telling a forbidden and satanic truth, hidden in a glitchy wasteland of broken assets, messages hidden in a false error screen, and even what appears to be a streaming setup monitoring someone's room. And beneath it all, a whole lot of dead babies. Among the collection of rooms that look like a pixel art house with books, TV, and gaming setups, there's one with a door that usually shows a black and white forest, but if you peer close enough, sometimes there's a strange sound, and traveling through a dark level, you come to a door. This darkened maze takes you to a womb-like space full of fetuses with a sequence of numbers. All of these, by the way, lead to Bible quotes, alongside classics like the one where a bear kills 40 children for calling someone bald, the one where a religious council decides to kill every male child and non-virgin woman, and the one where the god of Egypt kills every firstborn child, is a quote that appears not just in this selection, but one that appears when damage is dealt to the first boss of the game. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. And finally, before we return to Teosita, let's unravel one of the most cryptic puzzles in the game. Hidden in a secret corner above a level in the lower section of the map is an inverted red star for which you get an achievement asking, "Is this star reachable?" It is, in fact, but the method you come upon it is a little bit unexpected. When you beat certain levels in the world becomes rotten, fleshy, and a distorted face appears. During this brief 10-second window, a pathway opens up, and when the temple returns to its orderly state, you're glitched behind a wall, and the red star is there for you to find. This inverted red pentagram leads to a YouTube video. This was one of the rooms I was unsure about initially, and after all that happens in it is that a creepy sound plays, and this sarcophagi, shaped like a baby, follows you around with its glowing eyes. But play this video in reverse, and a particular spot is revealed. Standing here for the duration of this sound effect results in being taken to a secret boss fight, and reveals a secret message. You must be reborn to enter the lower spheres. Now, this theme of infanticide could just be edge. After all, this game, if shown to a Christian suburban mom, would probably make her spontaneously combust. But this theme applies to Teosita as well. The occult principles in that game take the form of skeletal newborn children, and hidden knowledge in that game is represented by babies as well. This theme of infant sacrifice is used in two ways. First, to reveal hypocrisy and brutality in the Patriarch's Christian-based dogma, and the second, to show the dark cost of our incarnation. What must go into a reincarnation in the world of flesh is nothing less than dead babies. Tamashi's ending, after Fukurl reveals the truth of the Godhead to our protagonist, is a shmup against a fetus. Our power of flight gained by absorbing the matriarch into the Servant of Light's mortal form. This newfound mortality will make us vulnerable, but allow us to continue our journey. But in the end, the game reveals something far stranger than dead babies or a war between gods, something that's fictional implications reach into the real world. That information is...
That information is that our body of flesh might just be the one the future was incarnated in.
And now we return to Teosita. The matriarch has gathered all 7 principles and is ready to descend into the realm of flesh to destroy the belief that sustains her enemy. So, let's unravel the synthesis of what we know from these 2 esoteric and occult games. Just who are the matriarch and patriarch? What is the truth of this conflict now that we've heard the dogmatic perspectives of both religions? What's the next step in the journey to the lowest sphere? What sits at the bottom of the tree of knowledge? Throughout the levels of Teosita, completing challenges and finding hidden paths results in finding hidden fetuses, which can be mashed into a green paste to obtain vital information. With this juicy information, a lot more starts to make sense. First off, Fukurl is not a name, but a class of being, a living incarnation of the matriarch that appears when her teachings are most needed, but the patriarch and his servants have found ways to suppress these iconoclasts. And those servants? The name they're given is icons of domination, false gods empowered by the patriarch to rule over mankind, and coerce them into giving the power of their faith to false idols. Beings like the Red Buddha and 2-headed skeletal baby, I think, fall under this category. But even here, there are still secrets. When you find all 6 infants, a 7th is revealed, fighting behind a wall. This one tells the lore of the Abyssals, parasitic eldritch beings that latch onto the symbolic power of gods and feed off their faith and energy, corrupting an entire sphere in which they reside in order to make a suitable energistic habitat. An example of this is given both here in the hidden library and in the lore of a previous level, that of the 10th sphere, the lowest, Malkuth, where a pharaoh encountered what he thought to be a sun god and entered into a pact with it for great power. This decision poisoned the sphere and doomed man to the law of Ouroboros. So, let's dig into that a bit. If we were to believe the first game, Tamashi, the patriarch is Anthony Michael Yahweh, once the brother of the matriarch who obtained godly power. Was this power that of the Abyssals, or something greater? Confusing though is that in this game, the Abyss was that of the matriarch. Stranger still is that line about the law of Ouroboros. Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, was an alchemical symbol in Egypt, one that represented rebirth, a continuum of reincarnation, and of cyclical time.
Our doctrine is not shaping the obscurity of this cycle.
These games perhaps aren't sequels or continuous in a traditional sense, but a cycle of events with the matriarch, her heralds, and her incarnations locked in an eternal dualistic clash with her inverse, the patriarch. Or perhaps a journey to unseat the law of Ouroboros by targeting its weakness. Now that we've beaten the patriarch, another set of levels is open to us. The left-hand path, much more difficult versions of the existing levels, which take the game from a difficult puzzle platformer to a medieval torture method. These levels are really fucking hard, and I'm a glutton for punishment. Mentalism. Correspondence. Vibration. Polarity. Rhythm. Cause and effect. Although these levels only became more and more difficult, I also became more in sync with the game, its movement, and its mechanics. And I noticed things that I hadn't noticed before. Secret messages, flashes of strange imagery on screen, and a familiar, yellow, toothed face. Yeah, for some reason, in level 3, a strange being appears. And when you touch him, you're transported to a room with 2 skulls and a mass of flesh. This mass, by the way, also appears just off screen in the hub world. Very strange. It's impossible to leave the room, and you have to restart the level. What purpose this serves? I'm not sure. Finally, after a lot of tribulation, we make it to the end and can open the other door in the final area. We're met with a red, fleshy hallway full of mouths and a Jesus with a halo of syringes. Entering through this door, we embody a new form and fight against a strange mass of flesh. If I was to hazard a guess, this is the Abyssal lurking in this plane. Now, more than ever, this game is reminiscent of some forbidden mod or disturbing glitch, like the Doom Wad set inside a womb, or an amalgamation of creepypastas and gore. This fight is broken up into phases, a shoot-'em-up against a massive flesh, a puzzle you complete as a looming, indescribable figure follows close behind, and finally, an even more frantic clash against a tumor made of writhing arms. At the end of this, there's no fanfare, we're just taken back into the hallway, but now a door is open. A room full of clocks without numbers, replaced with zodiac symbols, alongside more key-locked doors. Something about this game had bothered me since the very beginning, There are more keys than levels, and we're still missing one. But something important is different. We have all but one of the 26 achievements in the game. Each one corresponds to a letter in this alphabet, enough to handily brute force the codes. Documents that reveal Jungian theory on how to make a game that unravels the occult regions of the unconscious mind and speaks of esoteric doctrines. A hidden rant about gamer culture, one that I almost entirely agree with. The way to unlock this document, and the door hidden behind it. And, most importantly, in a hidden room, a way to find the hidden key. In a quiet, dark place, find the reversed tree and rest beneath its branches. The clock puzzle opens up an overseer's terminal, containing hidden graphics, blurry images of a church, all plastered with the matriarch's slogan, a hidden message that describes our mission once again, and a secret two-player mode. But once again, there are deeper secrets, always deeper and deeper. And in the final clock room, there's a hidden door. Beyond that door is a room full of more alchemical sigils in a puzzle, which requires us to use a spectrogram to obtain the order. And behind that door, well, it's the deepest secret of the entire game.
Could a suggestion be so subtle as to influence the subconscious, even under the resistance of an individual aware of the attempted influence?
Perhaps my brother. I do think influence brings about change, and even small deeds or intrusive thoughts can be the result of external stimuli.
I see. A presumed good influence can have its polarity shifted due to ambiguities in the message or in the individual experience. Sorry. I guess that sounded a bit confusing. What I mean to say is, each message can have its meaning shaped by the experience of the one on the receiving end of the message, thus creating a new message.
I think you would be right. Words are a dangerous bunch, and the illusion of neutrality can be of an even more dangerous bunch.
Yes, so you do get it. That is why there are symbols. The search must not only be for truth, but also for wisdom.
Of course. Both are necessary, and this sort of balance is what has guided our philosophy since the beginning, isn't it? But what exactly are you getting at, my brother?
The time has come for us to prepare the project. This is big for us. I always get nervous at this point.
What, already? Wait, do you mean?
It is exactly what you think. She is already among us.
Did we even start looking? What is she like? How old is she?
We do not know yet, but Iz is here and she could be anyone. Your questions will have to go unanswered for now.
I guess she wouldn't even know it herself.
The gift of forgetting. A rule even she cannot hope to break.
Well, that's why we're here. We're part of her memories.
Given the times, the program will likely be different and experimental. It is impossible to measure its efficacy without putting it to the test.
From what you tell me, this sounds like a risky plan, even for us. How can we be sure we're looking at the real thing?
But it is not. However, I have thought of a possible remedy. Firstly, the program will not be rolled out in a single location. Secondly, The program will contain numerous suggestions considered good enough to draw Fuserle's attention. Influences that could awaken her.
Whoa, but even this could take years. There's no guarantee we will find her in this cycle, either.
That is exactly why I am making sure the program is appropriately spread and active in many places at a time.
Seriously? How does this new program work?
It has 4 stages. The first few are more playful and accessible, presenting concepts of the path of the neophytes on a smaller scale. It starts with the Tamasha stage, which serves as an introduction. It presents the idea of the soul, our foundations, and proposes an aesthetic. Then there is the Estigma stage, created mainly to excite the senses. It is a complementary step that bridges the first and third stages together. I preemptively assume that this second stage will act as a filter, either eliminating or intensifying the candidate's interest in the next stage. The third stage is Tosida. It is about revelation and compromise. After these stages are completed, even if Fuserle does not show up among the candidates, we will still have more brothers.
Sounds pretty good. You really do think of everything, huh? It's always good to have new additions to our family too.
This is what the matriarch would wish for. More of her children gathered for the great undertaking.
So tell me, what's the last stage?
It is the stage of action and propagation. The last stage, she will be among us, completely aware of her role.
Oh, so you haven't given it a name yet still. I am happy with a higher possibility of our great mother returning. She has taught us so much already.
Glad to know you like it. We will start rolling out this program as soon as possible.
Basically, we hit anything that moves, huh? I'll be honest with you, I didn't think this would be the best idea, but I guess it really is the best we can have for now.
That is a rather strange way to put it, but yes, do remember that there will be many instances of the program hitting at the same time. By the way, the rest of the heralds are already preparing the necessary equipment as we speak.
We shouldn't waste more time then. If we already know she is among us, the Demiurge must know too.
If he reaches Fuserle before we do, we would have to wait yet another cycle for a new chance, and I believe none of us want that.
Let's not be hasty, there a lot can happen until then. I hope the plan works and will do my best to prepare for what is to come.
Thank you, my sister. The path of the neophytes will most certainly bring us new allies against the horror of the Demiurge.
These games, Tamashi and Teosita, are all tools to awaken Fuserle. Not in the fiction of this game's reality, but in the player. At the end of Tamashi, our character was told they would awaken in the lowest sphere, in the form of our Steam username. And now, here, after playing through the metaphysical aptitude test, we're being told straight up, these games are for the purpose of finding Fuserle, the incarnation of the matriarch. The lore of the matriarch's memories scattered throughout the game, the dogma of her teachings and history, aren't only propaganda, but they're designed to awaken memories and claw out the being hidden in our subconscious. But there's a fourth game that will appear alongside Fuserle when she's found. But why use this game as a program to summon your god? Let's analyze one of these hidden documents, one that's been right in front of us the entire time.
According to Carl Jung, alchemical symbols represented a formula for the search for the transmutation of cognition. In other words, he saw the importance of alchemical symbology for the transcendence of the psyche. The elements were codes that represented the human being as a whole body, mind and soul, like mercury, salt and sulfur. Therefore, the search for the transmuted gold of the Philosopher's Stone was not, in his view, methods of finding real gold, but of transforming the human being. We developed and conducted experiments focused on the transgressive and subversive nature of the microcosm, absorbing and organizing the abstract fragments that emerge from the subconscious to the conscious, transforming them into accessible essays in digital media. The primary concept that moved the development of the project is the composition of traditions and philosophical interpretations about supernatural knowledge, with the ability that the interactive media provides to experience these elements in different approaches, thus seeking to develop virtual environments that represent the microcosm and its hidden gnosis, transforming the media into a mystical digital work, and nevertheless, works that represent the dogmas of humanity on the optics of a stylized, subversive metaphysics. This does not necessarily mean that they are works with a high educational content, but primarily to focus on artistic manifestations as an exponent of interior gnosis.
These games bombard you with symbolism, puzzle, and codes, and they ask a lot of you in hopes of creating artistic gnosis, in hopes of awakening things buried deep in our subconscious. For the brother and sister creating the program, their goal is to find the matriarch's hidden incarnation, to awaken her in the lower sphere. The critique and questioning of hierarchical, dogmatic religion, designed to weaken the power of an abyssal demiurge feeding off the energy of belief. For us, though, this game is its own reward. The mysteries, secrets, and hidden concepts are so interesting, and hey, if it awakens an esoteric goddess, all the more reason these games are worth playing. There's just one puzzle left to solve. Hidden in a tomb, openable only after solving the first language, is a stone with a second language on it. Just enough letters to solve it brute force. The matriarch warned us the patriarch has allies, worshippers of what they call God and Devil. Both seek to erase our mother's work. We have enough to begin decoding the hidden messages in this runic language, scattered throughout the game. Some more obvious, like the word Tamashi and Almas, both meaning soul in the outer ring of this sigil, alongside the signature of the developer's name, Vicantor, or the word prohibited in the area before the first boss. When you respawn, the letters say to return. The cruciform in the glitch between areas 3 and 4 is reading out the dogma of the patriarch: abstinence, hypocrisy, conform, sacrifice, submit. And at the start of each level, there's a rotating codex that I haven't been able to pick out yet. But most interestingly to our analysis is this mouth in level 5. Its text reads, "What video game is what you want it to be?" I would say that this one is. A metaphysical program designed to awaken a subconscious abyssal goddess inside of us. A propaganda network meant to destroy the belief in God in order to weaken an abyssal being manifesting as him. A surrealist mystery designed to be analyzed, to probe our subconscious and awaken an occult gnosis. The myriad answers and mysteries you can find in this game are an expertly crafted maze of lore, secrets, and discoveries, designed not just to draw out interest, but to draw out the perceptions, biases, and contradictions hidden within our own subconscious temples. And, well, there are more of these games left to unravel. Secrets that lurk in a stigma are some of the most rewarding and strange that I haven't touched on yet, with whole hidden games behind walls of clever puzzles, whose documentation gives hints into the developer's creative process. Anomalous, too, has secrets and lore aplenty, and hints at the 3D direction for his upcoming games. So, we've just dove headfirst into an occult and mysterious video game. And as you may not be surprised to know, there are just a few secrets left to be found. The system in the game is the ESP card puzzle that occurs at the end of every level. Finding 2, 3, and 4 correct cards, respectively, all result in a secret glitch or jump scare. I've never seen 5, but 3 and 4 are interesting. Both allow you to walk around a strange and glitchy space, but if you stay for too long, you're attacked by an odd mass and return to the world. Additionally, there are rumors of a secret screen with sounds that resemble a spectrogram. This is confirmed to be real by the developer and takes the form of a red fleshy figure appearing in the monitor room. Hey, I'm coming at you live from after this video was pretty much entirely recorded and edited, and the rendering is going on, because, well, I found one of these hidden secrets that hadn't been recorded yet. It had been mentioned once on Twitter, but there was no footage of it, and the person who had seen it said it sounded like a spectrogram. Well, although there's no spectrogram in this recording, it is pretty interesting. Visually, what we're looking at seems to be a pile of gore with a mask on top of it. We'll get back to the mask, but the audio is interesting too. See, when I first heard it, I thought it said, "She is sleeping," and I think that's not the case. Someone else who heard this audio says that they think it says, "Please help me." And I think both readings apply to what I think is going on here. My reading hinges on the fact that this is a unformed type of Fucurl. So, as we know, in the game, Fucurl needs to incarnate into the world of flesh. And, well, this is fleshy as fuck, but her reincarnation seems to be in a halfway state, not fully formed or maybe aborted. And she's either sleeping and, well, yet to wake up, as implied by the dialogue at the secret section at the end of the game, or she's in some kind of danger. Her half-formed body is at risk of being attacked by the demiurge, or has already been attacked, which is why it's just a pile of guts. I'm not sure which reading is correct, but little secrets like these really just add so much to the game, and it was such a cool experience finding it and frantically rushing to open OBS to record it. And, you know, I think there's no better depiction of my feelings on that than playing the Funny Specialist song over video of intense video game gore. That's what the Dollmeat channel is all about, everyone. With that, I bring this video to a close. But don't forget to play Vicantor's games, and check me out on Patreon for exclusive content like vlogs, director's commentaries, and early releases of my videos. Thank you, and good night. I'm Dollmeat, and this has been Teosita, an esoteric video game with secrets as deep as the abyss.